Got dreams of being a professional podcaster, but have no idea what you're doing?
This is impossible.
That's about to change.
A new kind of school.
Welcome to the Pod School Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. Today we're talking about one of the things I hate, social media. It is unfortunately a necessary evil if you are going to be a podcaster, but it can be a bit of a conundrum when it comes to what platforms to be on, how much to post, whether you need a new profile as opposed to your own personal profile. There are a lot of different questions, and really the most important thing is you do need some kind of social presence for your podcast if you want to share it and you want to give it the best chance of success. Obviously, things like hashtags are very important when it comes to niche content, and if you've got a niche show and you want to be getting it in front of people who might not know you personally but are looking for the content that is in your niche, then you want to be hashtagging the crap out of all of your shows so that people can come across your episodes. If you are wondering about whether or not you should start up new accounts, that is a good question. And my advice would be to stick to as few accounts as possible. One of the things about social media is everybody thinks they should be everywhere, and then you end up doing everything a bit half-assed rather than one or two things exceptionally. You are much better off thinking about where your audience is. If that is on Twitter but it's not on Instagram, then just have a Twitter account. If your audience is probably more likely to be on Instagram, and if your content is much more suited to a visual medium, stick to Instagram and don't worry about Twitter or don't worry about Facebook. If you want to start up a brand new profile, maybe even just start with one account and build it up from there. Also think about whether you can use your personal account or if you need something new. So with my shows, I tend to use my personal account, although I've just recently started up an Instagram account for Pod School after much pushing from people. But really my Instagram account, I have been working in media for a long time, so it kind of made sense for things to be on my profile that were around podcasting. Where things started to get a bit sort of confusing for me is that a lot of people come to my profile because they know me from media things and bits and pieces, but they haven't necessarily come there to learn about podcasting. So I felt like it was probably time to split something out and start something new so that I could just focus purely on the podcasting tips on Instagram and then keep my personal profile for just a kind of conglomeration of all of the bits and pieces of podcasting and media stuff that I am doing. You just want to have a think about what your content is on your show and how it matches with what you're doing personally. If you are sort of, if you've got a bit of a loose profile on your Instagrams, no problems there at all. But if, it's you doing a lot of partying and bits and pieces, and then your podcast is cooking with kids, I don't know, maybe that's not going to work amidst the tequila shot photos. Just a thought. So have a think about what your profile is personally, and then think about whether it actually might be a good idea to separate it out, or whether all of that can fit under the umbrella of your personal brand. If that is the case, that's often going to be a great thing to do because you don't have to start from 0 followers. You don't have to post on multiple social media accounts. If it works to put it all under the one umbrella, then it can make life a lot easier for you. The final thing I'll say about social media is that one of the mistakes I see a lot of people make is that they feel like they can only really share their show on social the day it's released. So often they'll say, episode out now, and then they'll never speak about it again. The thing is, if you have a show that is evergreen content, and by evergreen I mean it doesn't date, so it could be listened to now or in 3 years' time and it would still be relevant, then you should be sharing that episode on the week it drops multiple times, and then you should be scheduling in social media posts for the rest of time because you want to constantly be getting new eyes and ears on that episode. And the thing about social media algorithms, particularly something like Twitter, it moves fast. So it might take you posting about something 10 times before somebody might actually see it. So don't think that when you have shared your show on social media that everybody you want to see it has seen it at that time and that you are just being annoying by posting it again, because actually most people aren't going to see it. Of course, different platforms are more or less forgiving. Like you can get away with posting a lot higher frequency posts on Twitter than you can on something like Facebook or Instagram. You couldn't post about the same episode 3 times in a row on Facebook or Instagram. But on Twitter, you could probably get away with doing it a few times a week. You might not be able to do that on other platforms. So think about where you are posting, but just don't tweet about it or Instagram about it once and then never speak about it again. Even if you're doing a show that's topical, so it does date and you are talking about something that is just relevant this week, you can still tweet and Facebook and Instagram about that multiple times during the week, even if it is 3 different versions of something across 3 different platforms. Or just think creatively about how you can share it out so you're not spamming anybody, but also don't be afraid to share your show multiple times. It takes a lot of chipping away at this stuff to actually build an audience. So if you want to grow your show over time, you got to keep on coming out and tweeting and Facebooking and all the rest of it on your chosen platforms, of course. And then eventually, kind of like SEO, social is one of those things where eventually you do start to see an accumulation of results. But in the early days, it can feel a bit like you're bleeding into the wilderness. Don't fear. People will come eventually. You just have to keep on shouting into that wilderness until they find you and come and check out your show. Hope that's helped you think a little bit more strategically about your social media and also given you permission to say you do not need to be on every single platform, and let that be my gift to you, because what a punish social media is. Look, you might love it, and if you do, good on you. Gosh, I wish that was me, because it wouldn't be so painful. When I'm trying to tweet and Instagram about things, I just think, even when I've got really good things to say, I still kind of think, am I bothering people? That's a problem I'll need to work through with my therapist. If you would like some help, not of the therapy variety, but of the podcast assistance variety, then come and check out my online podcasting course, Pod School. You can find all the details to everything that is included in the course at podschool.com.au, where I take you step by step through every part of the podcasting process so that you can pop out the other side, know what you're doing, but also create a really solid sounding show that people will listen to and think, oh, this is good. Where did they learn to do that? And you can say Pod School. Alrighty, time for me to get out of your ears. I will see you next week. And until then, happy podcasting.
That's all for today.